How much solar and batteries would you need to match a nuclear reactor? $17 billion to be specific, but that's about half the cost of this nuclear plant.
Over the past decade and a half, energy storage and solar have dramatically dropped in price. But how does that compare in the cost of a nuclear plant? So in that last video, they're comparing the Vogtle nuclear plant, which cost about $30 billion, to building battery and storage instead. So here's the numbers we're dealing with here. That $17 billion, is that an apples to apples comparison? This energy storage, is that enough energy storage? And is this a reasonable cost? I'm just going to assume that these transmission upgrades are pretty much about correct. And is this enough solar power, which is in gigawatts DC, needs to be AC eventually, and is that a reasonable cost per watt? So I myself am not an energy modeling expert, but I do have friends who are. They're able to help me put together this cost estimate for a solar plus battery system that kept the cost as low as they really could. And they modeled it out hour by hour over an entire year to make sure that the energy was there when it was needed. The first thing you might notice here is the 17 gigawatts versus the 10 gigawatts that they were estimating. I'm assuming where they went wrong is they were estimating based off of an average capacity factor over the entire year for solar power. But you need to take into account when the capacity factor is its lowest, which is in Georgia is December. And a solar system will only produce less than 12% of its total capacity. You have to dramatically overbuild your solar system for those winter months. Another issue that you see here is the cost of the solar panels. This is in watts AC and it comes from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And that puts us at $22 billion for just the solar panels. In that video, they estimated about 39 gigawatts of storage. I put 34.5 because that's not unreasonable. Difference is in the assumed cost. This number here actually comes from the Tesla website, and this is a pretty aggressive number. In that last video, they mentioned that the costs are going to dramatically decrease over the next few years, but there's actually no evidence of that. If anything, with recent events, that cost is actually going to go up. And so that puts you at $14 billion for the energy storage for a total of $38 billion. But there's a huge flaw with this whole thing. Gas peakers, 2%. We're still relying on fossil fuels. And that was just to reduce your cost. So let's say we're going to go ahead and take away all that fossil fuels. That's going to dramatically increase your solar and storage and put you at over 3 times the cost. That $107 billion is not even a fair comparison because it doesn't include financial costs, which the Vogtle plant did. There are many other reasons why this is flawed. Pause to read.